What's going on, everybody? I know you've been waiting a little bit for this, but guess what? The Balanced Dataslate has been released, the final Balanced Dataslate of 9th edition, and I'm massively excited for this because I didn't expect too much, and honestly, we got more than expected. And I'm pretty happy with overall what we're getting here. Jack and I are going to break it down over the coming stream, but before we get to that, if you like this type of content, if you like the hot takes we've been doing on 10th edition content, as well as all the stream games we put on, go ahead, give us a like, tell your friends about us, leave a comment in the description, let us know what you thought about our kind of ideas about this data slate. And finally, if you want more of our advanced level content, all those coaching matches, strategy sessions, etc., click the link below. We have a 3-day free trial. It's the warroom.vhx.tv, and just try it out for free. All right, Mr. Jack, you ready to dive in?
I was excited. I hopped on my fastest Dawn Eagle jet bike to get down here. And, they did more than I thought. I'll be honest.
I'm very happy with what we got. So let's go ahead and break it down, give our thoughts, and then maybe if John shows up towards the end, we can have his thoughts, or he'll post in the Discord.
I'm sure,
All right.
He'll want to tell you about how his list is not changing a point, which is apparently how it's going.
Cool. All right. So first up, nothing I believe changed with aircraft. The unfortunate thing for me is I wish that aircraft, they changed it from models to aircraft units, and that way the humble Remora in the Tau Forge World lineup could actually be used. But unfortunately it cannot be. So that small tweak would go a long way for those aircraft units, those aircraft models that fill up units, but they didn't do it.
Oh, no, it still says.
It still says units, still says models up here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Indirect fire also stayed the same. Good thing.
Thank God for that.
Thank God they didn't change that. All right, first new thing is Arcs of Omen's secondary objectives.
They finally messed with secondaries. They haven't done this. They haven't done this outside of a
the one Space Marine one.
No. Oh, did they change that?
They changed it in the previous one. Space Marines got a little update in their section, but now they have a whole section just for secondaries.
Yeah. Generally, they avoided changing secondaries outside of a chapter approved, and this shows that they're willing to do that, which is dope. Yeah.
First up, we have the major Thousand Suns buff that this data slate is giving out, and that is changing Abhor the Witch from Warpcraft to Purge the Enemy category. And I listened to Stu Black on the video explaining why this was a change that helped Thousand Suns and Grey Knights to some extent. And it seemed like they were worried that people could pick Abhor the Witch and something like Assassinate or No Prisoners, grind them down.
Yeah, No Prisoners, yeah.
So you would get 2 kill secondaries against the Grey Knights or Thousand Suns, and this is meant to be, okay, you can take Abhor the Witch, but then that's really your only kill secondary.
Can I throw out
still take No Prisoners.
A somewhat hot take here?
Yes.
Okay, so against Grey Knights, this is definitely a buff for Grey Knights, because Grey Knights you would take both. No questions asked. Into Thousand Suns, I think this is a nerf for Thousand Suns, and here I will explain why. The reason it's a nerf is because Abhor the Witch was a trap. It was a trap against Thousand Suns. It was so annoying to root out every single last little model out of a unit. They're all, they all ignore morale, and it was just so annoying to get in there and actually kill units completely, and one little guy would run behind a wall every time. I never took Abhor against Thousand Suns. Just didn't do it. I took No Prisoners, because that, if I kill 4/5 of the unit, I still get my, tally for.
Same, I literally only take No Prisoners against them.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about finishing off units, I just want to kill as much when they're committed. But the other thing is they'd have demon allies. They'd have flamer units, they'd have Tankars, stuff that doesn't give up Abhor the Witch, and they would tank the damage and force out the opponent.
Exactly. And if you did take both, you are priced into running at them, which sucks inherently. But yeah, I would never take Abhor the Witch against Thousand Suns. I would never do that. I would take Purge the Enemy. Not Purge the Enemy, sorry. No Prisoners.
Yep.
I would take No Prisoners. I would not take Abhor the Witch.
Yeah, the last time I played against Thousand Suns with my Tau in the War Room, I just took No Prisoners. Didn't even bother with Abhor the Witch.
Yep. It's a trap. And if it's a trap, I would be happy to have my opponent fall into.
Yep. So.
But they can't anymore.
This is all Thousand Suns end up getting. I think they could have probably used with one.
It changed to Purge?
Yeah, Purge.
There's nothing in Purge.
Well, they were worried about Assassinate specifically. That's why I listened to the thing, because I didn't really understand where they were going.
You can still take Abhor and No Prisoners.
Exactly, but they're preventing the Assassinate and the Abhor the Witch combo.
Assassinate is an even bigger trap.
But they fall for it. The Games Workshop design team loves traps.
And they love hanging their characters and getting them killed. Yeah, that literally... I mean, I guess it's a nerf to a Pour the Witch, but it basically doesn't matter. There's nothing in Purge the Enemy, unless you have a specific one in there.
Yeah, there's a couple armies that do have good Purge the Enemy, but not many.
And you don't want your opponent... You don't want to take a Pour the Witch against Thousand Suns, generally.
If you take a Pour the Witch and Assassinate, you were going to just try and table them.
Yeah.
So. All right. And... we had a little super chat here. Thank you so much. Loving all the Thousand Suns changes. This is it.
I guess they thought this was enough.
And Zoltan will get to the Deathwing in a second, but your 100 Terminators. I don't think you'll ever need 100 Terminators, but it looks epic for sure.
It does. It's a lot.
You have that going.
It's a lot of Termies.
Thanks so much for the super chat. All right, add the following to the end of Codex Warfare secondary objective. You can score a maximum of 5 victory points from the secondary while Devastator is active, while 5 for Tactical, 5 for Assault Doctrine.
Yep.
So instead of being able to sit there all game with Iron Hands or what have you in Devastator Doctrine and getting 15 from that, you now actually have to use the other doctrines.
So it's going to be a bit of a theme here where the changes are kind of not really right. Like they changed it, sure, and you cap out, and it does the intended goal here at least of making it so that you can't camp in Devastator Doctrine all game. But Dev Doctrine is still 2, and Assault Doctrine is 1 for some reason. I'm not 100% sure. Now Codex Warfare went from good to bad, because generally you're going to only take 1. I guess that's fine. I'm okay with Codex Warfare not being great, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. They did throw in the FAQs.
Yep,
that
got it over here.
That if your unit counts as being in a doctrine,
right
now
here.
Yep, now the you get Codex Warfare points for it.
Yep,
which is nice.
So for something like I think Ultramarines have a stratagem for 1 CP, just turn a unit into whatever doctrine. You get your 5 from Devastator Doctrine, and then one time, for the rest of your turns, you just switch over.
Yeah, I will say something like Ultramarines still pretty good here because you have, 1 10-man Desolator Marine unit just getting you a 5 on Codex Warfare. And then, because it kills 3 things, you get a 5.
Yep.
And then the rest of your army in Tactical and Assault just need to kill some things and you get it. But it's fine. It's 1 point per. But
you can also switch those Desolator Marines back into Devastator and keep getting points, right?
No,
because it's capped. Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But if you don't get it in the first 2 turns, you can switch back and just be like, it's fine, no problems. All right, but I think
it's a much better secondary for sure. It's much better designed.
You can realistically get a 10 still, I think, pretty easily, honestly, with Marines.
Yeah, it's a bit of work to get a 5 out of Tactical and Assault because really you just want your whole army in Devastator, but if it's work you're willing to go through, you could probably get a 10 out of this.
It just means that you might have more value in bringing a Specialist Combat unit just to make sure that you can get a couple extra points.
Yeah.
All right, change the last paragraph of Call Order secondary objective to read at the end of the battle for each. This is the Death Watch secondary, by the way.
Yeah, I know what this one is. I'm looking up Brood Swarm, exactly what changed.
It's the getting...
we'll get to it when we get to it.
For each battlefield roll that was selected, score 3 victory points if 1 or more units from your opponent's army with that battlefield roll has been destroyed. Score 5 if you kill every single one from that battlefield roll. So it used to be that you just get 5 if you kill every battlefield roll.
You picked 3 battlefield rolls that are in your opponent's army. If they don't have any of those, you can't pick it. And then you get 5 victory points if every unit from that battlefield roll is dead. And it was a
ludicrously hard.
Garbage secondary. One of the worst in the game. Now the way it's scored, it's still not great, honestly, but it's a lot better.
You can kill 3 units, so you pick 1 of each battlefield roll as long as they have 3 different ones. You kill 1 from each, and you get 9 points. And then you can think about, all right, I'll just finish off all their troops, and then I'll get another 2 points there. Yeah. And that's fine.
It's workable now.
Yeah, you can actually get some points on it, but not amazing. All right, Brood Swarm is the GSC secondary that goes in, I think, Battlefield Supremacy.
Yep, it used to be 1 victory point for 5 bullet points up to 5. Now it's 1 victory point for 3 bullet points up to 3. The points they deleted are you have more models on the battlefield, and you did all of the other 4 bullet points. So if you had more models on the battlefield, you got a point. And if you did every one of the bullet points, you got an additional point. And those 2 are gone away. Now it's just, if you have more models in no man's land, your deployment zone, their deployment zone.
The cool thing for GSC is that this is in Battlefield Supremacy, and they can easily do engage or behind enemy lines. Yeah. Army just designed to do that. They probably shift a little bit, so you have a little more trash to get behind enemy lines points. But I don't think this is going to change GSC too much, in my opinion. This was it's just absurdly easy secondary. So they don't have that to rely on, but they have a generally strong secondary game overall. It's like if you nerf any of the Harlequin secondaries, they still do the generic ones super well.
They do. I would probably say that this takes it from like a 15 to like a 10 to 12. Because by late game, you start losing models. It's hard to get the mid-board anymore. It's very hard to get your opponent's deployment zone at most times. Like, it's not a great secondary now. It's fine. It's all right. You can take it, and it's fairly safe.
Yep. It's still a safe amount of points, but you could go for behind enemy lines if you want to max something, if you think you're going to just easily get there.
Exactly. It just used to be you'd get a 5 once, and then you'd outnumber your opponent on the board for the whole game, and that was just,
Yeah, it was too easy.
6 points by itself.
It's just too easy.
It was too easy.
Anytime you show up with an auto 15, that's just bad for the game. All right, so those are the secondary changes. Didn't change any other. I would have liked to see a couple of the really bad ones get a little bit of a buff, but unfortunately, they mostly did toning down the best ones.
Yes.
Or easiest to score. All right, bodyguard abilities. I don't believe bodyguard changed since its previous incarnation. Heading down to Space Marines, they keep the changes to doctrines, and then the Space Marine troops or
sticky objectives,
getting stickies. Dark Angels.
RIP.
Delete the 4th bullet point from Inner Circle ability. And you might say...
That is certainly a way to balance it.
You might say, hey, it's the 4th bullet point. It can't be the most impactful
Yeah, not the first one.
But guess what? It is the most impactful one. That's the one where you can only be wounded on unmodified Force 5s and 6s.
I thought they would... If they change anything at all, I would assume they would just make it to you can't be wounded on unmodified 1s and 2s.
I thought Baby Transhuman was good.
But they just went whole hog at, hey, your faction identity, like your sub-faction identity, gone. And it's like, what? I'm sorry?
It was too strong of a rule. It has been pretty much since it was released. It's too good to just give Transhuman to all these durable bodies already. I think Baby Transhuman would have been a nice one, but they could have also instead put it so that it doesn't work against weapons that are strength 8 or higher, or some other change like that.
Yeah, or they just make Terminators not 33 points a model to Storm Shield Thunderhammer. Like, I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back
that
more
definitely
than
was.
Having Transhuman across the board. It was a 10-point decrease on every single model, and they have a 1-up armor save, and a 4-up invuln, and 3 wounds, and can resurrect. It was just too much nonsense. But this is a very rough answer to the problem.
They did get rid of the problem, I think.
They did. It's like trying to remove a wasp's nest with a flamethrower. But yeah, it is. They did get rid of it. I'm not gonna cry for Dark Angels, but like
the army was way too easy to play.
It was.
Shove the models on objectives. You could take your brain, take it out of your body, throw it away. And then you still get your points.
You literally don't have to move your models. You just move to the center and you're done. You just go take an early launch.
Glad that was fixed. I think they could have done it in more nuanced ways, but I think they just wanted to make sure this wasn't going to hurt people's play experience for the next couple months.
Yeah, this is like when they jam Tyranids up and are like, no more nerfs.
No more. You actually get nerfed.
You're done. Or when they were like Harlequins, invuln save -1. Just, I'm sick of you. I'm sick of playing around with you now. Get out of here.
Yeah. So, and then I'm glad that they didn't do any other nerfs to Dark Angels here, because Ravenwing is still a strong style.
They nerfed Codex Warfare was a pretty big deal for
Codex Warfare too, but they didn't specific Dark Angel nerfs.
True.
So I'm glad they didn't go after Ravenwing as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to play around with Ravenwing. I honestly am.
All right, heading over to...
sorry, I brought this over today to work on, so you can tell I'm serious.
Huge fanboy.
Yeah, woo!
Jack is a fanboy of every army. He just switches often, which is cool. All right, Drukhari here. So the one thing that they got, they don't put it in here, unfortunately. I wish they would just put that kind of line over the stuff that they delete. But it is Talos and Kronos regain core. So that was in the previous balanced data slate in January. It is now removed. So they keep the Dark Technomancer and Artist of the Flesh nerfs, but those 2 data sheets regain core, which I think is totally fair. I think these 2 rules changes here to the traits is strong enough to keep that army in check.
I think so. Those were the broken traits. Artists of Flesh and Dark Technos were a real problem. So I think they can get core back. I don't think their stats have aged as well as as the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think you can play, a weaker version of Thick City, and it's still going to be a fun style to play. So it opens up an option for Drukhari, but I don't think it's going to dominate the game or anything like that.
No, but I think it's pretty good. I know when I was playing Drukhari yesterday, I really wanted like Talos Chronos, that sort of
Something
thing.
to survive on objectives.
Something kind of beefy, something to overwhelm. So yeah, I think that's a great change. I think it's a great change.
All right, Harlequins. I don't believe anything changes here.
There's four main bullet points, and check the.
Yeah, I looked at the other one and couldn't see any difference. Deathwatch. Wow, Deathwatch is a faction. Okay.
Oh my god.
So Deathwatch had a huge problem with their doctrines, basically their doctrine ability not working. They were supposed to be the most flexible chapter, and then they became the least flexible.
Yeah, so the way it worked was it said replace how normal doctrines work with you get to choose Devastator once, Tactical twice, Assault three times, and you get to order them how you want. Well, the problem is the way doctrines works changed to become much better. And because Deathwatch said, replace the standard way of doing doctrines, they didn't get a buff. They did not get a buff. So now they just get to choose every turn what they want to use.
Yep. Each battle round, you just get to pick. So you can be as flexible as you need. Turn one, pick your Devastator Doctrine, and then just be like, I'm going to stay in Devastator Doctrine from now on. Or you can be like, all right, this turn I really need Tactical. I'll switch out and then go back to Dev.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good change for Deathwatch again.
It is.
I don't know how powerful it's going to make Deathwatch overall, but the two changes they got are a nice buff, and they won't be the worst army in the game, in my opinion.
Probably not, no.
All right, Chaos Demons.
Yeah, I don't think they will be. I think
surprised not to see something else here, frankly. Chaos Demons are really good. And as you're going to see some of the other... Well, we've already seen Marines getting nerfed, and I believe you and John ranked Chaos Demons as the 4th S-tier army.
It really felt like it was the A-plus tier, but we didn't have an A-plus
tier. So top of A tier is...
Exactly.
It means you benefit a lot when S-tier armies get nerfed.
Absolutely. Clearly the 4th best army. Above everything else.
I frankly thought Reality Rebel should have got a nerf in the secondaries. Slight nerf, but I think it could have gotten a nerf. It's a little too easy to get a 15 on that. I think it should be more in the 12-point category that you're looking for if you have to exert. Because you basically only have to play your half of the board and the center. Yeah. And Demons can do more than that, but I think their secondary game is probably what's pushing them up. I don't think it's really any of their data sheets.
No, their data sheets are crazy. It's not their rules in their book.
Oh, sorry, yeah. There's synergies.
There's synergies, all of that. They don't exist. But they have amazing data sheets, and they have great secondaries.
Yeah.
And that's good enough.
And I honestly would have toned down their secondaries and kept their data sheets so they still get units on the board.
Yeah.
But they not seeing anything here is a little surprising to me.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, Sinacht, no. Demons are not the best army in the game, but they are very, very good.
They're very good. Azurani doesn't have any changes here, same as before. Chaos Space Marines, also surprised not to see anything whatsoever here. Could have gone with a smaller level buff to just try and bring them up to be a bit more consistent. I especially think, once again, that their secondaries could have been buffed. They have some of the worst secondaries, not counting the Legion ones, in the game, in my opinion. I think small buffs there could have gone a long way to help Chaos Space Marines. Mm-hmm. Deputus Mechanicus doesn't get anything as well. Tyranids, they don't get more nerfs for the first time. They lost two of them. The first is that the Hive Tyrant no longer has to be the Warlord. So if you trade your Hive Tyrant, you don't auto lose your synaptic abilities. And then the second thing is now at the start of each game that you play, you can switch out your synaptic imperative based on which trait you have.
Yeah, your adaptive trait.
Yep, your adaptive trait.
So that's a good change.
It's a small buff, but at the same time, it just lets you play with more rules, and that's exactly what the Dataslate should be doing.
Absolutely.
So happy for Tyranids there. John will probably have more thoughts on that specifically in what it's going to change, the nuance of it. But for me, I think it's just a good quality of life change for Tyranids. Yep. It's not going to bump them up like 10% win rate or anything like that. It's just going to make playing the army more interesting.
Yep. Death Guards stay in Death Guard tier.
Yep. Tau, they do get one change. Broadsides now have core again. So what does this actually mean? First of all, broadsides, I joked about it when they originally came out, that broadsides were a trap pick because crisis units are just dramatically better in my opinion. Still think crisis suits are way better, even with broadsides gaining core. What it does open up is broadsides and Tau Sept can now get full rerolls from Shadow Sun. And they get reroll ones from commanders being nearby, which is a good quality of life change. It means they are more efficient and effective when you put them and try and do damage with them. Also, I think Borkon benefits quite a bit from this because broadsides already benefit defensively the best from Borkon, and now that they're rerolling ones to hit, it's not too bad to have them as an extra damage option.
Yeah, Tau do want some units that just put damage out efficiently. And
Especially long range anti tank, because you have hammerheads, but they can be inconsistent. Broadsides with core are a bit more consistent.
yeah, I don't think it's the biggest deal because broadsides aren't amazing, but
Their biggest problem is they're slow.
yeah, they were all right when everyone was taking Montcon. They could advance everywhere, but they're fine. Like, I like a couple solo ones just as some fire support. They just put some extra damage downfield, which is something you need.
Yeah, I think they're pretty solid as MSU and Tau Sept because you can string out Shadow Sun, be giving that reroll ones very easily to multiple units, and they benefit from that Tau Sept reroll.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a quality of life change for all those people because broadsides, if you look at the Tau Codex and you read the section which shows what a core Tau army looks like, it literally is broadsides, fire warriors, you got your recruit auxiliary units, blah, blah, blah. And removing core from broadsides was absolutely absurd. So I hope they take note of their changes to core and how it worked and messing with whether units have it or not, and try and not do that in 10th edition. I think it was just poorly done most overall.
Yeah.
All right, Necrons don't get any changes.
Guard.
Jack and I have been on the Guard are broken, and somehow people aren't winning with Guard. Train.
Their win rate has been like slowly increasing, but not to where Guard are.
Yeah. Where Guard played in the hands of a top player they are straight up broken.
Yes. And unfortunately, there were 2 changes. Not too much changed. They did make some changes, but I think in the end, John said it himself. His list isn't changing a point. I heard him say that.
This is the patented light touch.
Yeah.
This is what Tyrannus originally got. So, what did they change? First of all, Overcharged Las Cell stratagem is a stratagem that is often used in combination with the Casterkin unit, which puts out a good amount of volume of fire, and 6s to wound are mortal wounds. What it used to be capped as is 6 per targeted unit. So you could split between, say, 3 different Custody Dreadnoughts and do 6 mortal wounds, 6 mortal wounds, 6 mortal wounds, plus all the additional damage. And Guards still have the ability, I forget what the stratagem's called, it's like precision targeting or something.
It's something to make it hit rolls of 5 count as wound rolls of 6, which is just...
It should not exist in the game. That rule, every time it's come up where hit rolls of a certain number count as a 6 to wound, and that 6 to wound does something, whether it's in Craft Worlds, whether it's in Leagues of Votann, whether it was in Guard, it's just been broken every single time. It shouldn't exist. Just don't do that.
Well, because what happens is they balance the strat or ability or whatever that triggers on a 6 to wound, irrespective of the ability to suddenly force through a bunch of 6s to wound, which... They can balance it. It's not a mechanic that's inherently unbalanced, but they just don't take it into effect. They don't take it into effect. When they design a strat, it's like, 6s to wound do immortal. It's like...
That's it. Ingrained precision. Thank you, chat.
Yeah. When they go 6s to wound do immortal, they don't factor in the fact that, I can just make it so that, 5-up re-rollable is now a mortal and a wound.
Yeah. So this caps the total amount of mortal wounds, regardless of how many targeted units to 6, which is an excellent change. Very happy about this one because it means splitting fire is much less. You're not instantly deleting 3 different units. You will pick up 1 for sure, but picking up multiple is now quite a bit more difficult.
So I think you still pick up 2.
Probably.
Because you throw like 3 guys in one direction, which gets the 6 mortals and enough saves to kill one thing. And then you fire the rest of the unit and auto-wounding at AP3, because you can make them AP3. Auto-wounding at AP3 will probably finish off the second unit. So they still punch enough above their weight that you can't really, all in on Guard. Because if you do, then the caster can walk out, delete 2 units, and then the rest of the army opens up. And it used to be they deleted 3, and it didn't matter what they were. So this is a good change. But I think Casterkin are still nuts. I think they're still nuts.
Still an amazing unit.
Yeah, still an amazing unit.
And you're going to see at least 2 units in almost every Guard list.
I don't think Guard armies are going to change a point. Like, I think Casterkin are still insane the way they are.
So then we have a change to the Finial. This is, in my opinion, the strongest. It was the strongest relic in the game. What did it change? Well, it had a second qualifier in it, which is that the units, those core units in range, also ignored modifiers to hit.
And wound.
and wounds.
And wound.
So they got rid of that part. Now it is just you ignore face caps, which is a great ability.
And -1 damage.
Because Games
And feel no
Workshop,
pain.
for some reason, added in that it ignores -1 damage. Now, so it means Casterkin, Mortar Squads, kind of your basic infantry, are still going to be ignoring.
And Sentinels.
Sentinels, yep. So still a lot of the core units are going to be benefiting. I frankly think they should have given this the old Mirror Architect treatment, where it became a command phase ability, you pick one unit, and it ignores face caps, and that's it.
That would be cool.
Done.
I think
This should not be an aura.
They should have said it ignored hit and wound modifiers, not feel no pains and face caps. Because how do you beat guard? You beat guard by having something they can't shoot to death. And the finial just says your army can shoot anything to death. This was the half of the finial that I wanted gone, and this is the half they decided to leave in. It's unfortunate. I mean, it does definitely make it worse. People might not take it. I think they still should. But
frankly, I think it should have gotten the real treatment that Mirror Architect should have gotten, which is just delete from the game. Just out. Just gone.
I took Mirror Architect when it was a select one.
I'm saying, yeah, literally delete the whole thing.
No, I took it when it was that, because it was still
I know,
pretty
it's
good.
still very good.
Still very good.
It's just, when you come up with a rule that is just fundamentally broken, this ability is too strong. It's still too strong, in my opinion. Ignoring face caps is ludicrously powerful because they added in that it also impacts -1 damage. Being able to ignore feel no pains and face cap rules is already strong. -1 damage too, no.
Well, the annoying part is also when they do the overcharge last cell stratagem, they still ignore the feel no pain with the mortals. So, like, especially for Custodes, of which I am a Custodes boy, my 4-up against mortal wounds just doesn't apply to this.
Yeah. They could have also instead just restricted it to specifically the Cadian infantry squads, and then that would have been fine to me.
Yeah.
They could have left it the original one.
I mean, I would have been totally fine if it ignored hit modifiers and wound. Was it only hit modifiers? Whatever. It was really good.
See, I thought it was only hit modifiers.
Jack
was
like,
adding extra,
not the face, not the face.
He was adding extra powers to it just to make sure.
That's where I'm at every time they shot at me. I would have been totally fine if it was ignore hit modifiers, because they're only going core. Fine, whatever. This was the part I was hoping they would cut out, and it's the part they left in. So, you know.
I still think it's good. I still think it's going to be taken pretty much in every good guard list. So, a little disappointed in the guard changes here, honestly. I think they are, like John basically said, relatively unchanged. They're not, like, the Casterkin unit doesn't do ludicrous amounts of damage to 3 units, but it's still going to kill 2 units, and it's still way more efficient than it should be. Yeah. So, a little unfortunate. I wish they went a little harder for guard, especially considering that they went very hard on Dark Angels and Codex Warfare.
Yeah, they took Dark Angels, and they were like, no.
In my opinion, guard is the strongest army in the game now.
Now, that seems likely because Iron Hands got their secondaries nerfed. I don't know. Iron Hands might still be better, but it's like it was already a very tight run thing if you saw our tier list. So I think it's just those two are the best, then it's Demons, then it's everyone else.
Yep. So
I'll work on Ravenwing and see where it's at, but
I think when you judge a balanced status slate, you should be able to say that those S tier armies are now A or below. They no longer have multiple broken things about themselves, and they're no longer going to just have an inherent advantage if you show up with this army in a tournament, that you're more likely to win than not.
Yeah.
By a good degree. So I don't think this is a successful balanced update for Astra Militarum, unfortunately. I think because of their lower win rate overall, like 53% instead of 60, that gave them the kind of incentive to only do a lighter touch here. I think that's just incorrect. I think they have too many things that are just too strong in this book.
Yeah, and Patrick is saying that Guard spent 5 years with an 8th edition codex, let them have their time in the sun. They are like one of the best armies in the game right now with oppressive rules. They did need some tone down to get to a point where they're healthy, and then if they're at a healthy point, that's better for everybody.
There's just a handful of a lot of the B tier armies in below just cannot beat guard. A good guard player playing a good list.
Yeah, no, it's just true.
That's the problem that we're talking about. That's the negative play experience, and that's what they're not addressing here.
Yeah. All right, Orcs didn't change as far as I can tell. Sister didn't change. Custodes did change.
Yep, they changed on this bottom one right here, which is that you can't use the turn-off rerolls and the transhuman on the same unit in the same phase.
Yep. Basically, this feels very targeted at the Solar Watch list with the
10
bricks
wardens.
of 10 wardens. That list is a lot worse when you can't transhuman and no rerolls on the same unit. Because all it did was it would bank 4 CP, jam a 10-man into the center of your army, and then blow all 4 of that CP on no rerolls transhuman, and then like 5 of them would live in the center of your army. A second 10-man go in, the game would end.
Yep. I agree with this change. I think this is a solid change. They could have probably done it a little bit more nuanced and targeted, but I think this is a fine change. That combination is the strongest thing. It's a thing that a lot of armies in the game just cannot deal with.
I like them hitting it on the all-in game plan where you're looking to spend 4 CP on a 10-man brick or whatever. I like them hitting that. I don't love them hitting that on like 3-man units or a 1
3
or like
hours
a character or
Terminators
something.
is fine.
It's fine to stack both of them. It's not okay on a 10-man, and I wish there was some nuance there, but I get why they did it.
Maybe just saying 5 or more models, you can't do it. Just adding that qualifier in.
Yeah, or you can't spend more than 2 CP on these stratagems or something in the same phase. I don't know. I get why they did it. I'm not against it. It does the intended job. But I wish there was a little more nuance for those little MSU units.
Yep.
That's just me.
Yeah, I think spending the CP on a 3-man is totally fine. But at the end of the day...
Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So, Matto with a $5 super chat. Looking forward to 2 months of Desolation Marine spam. Out of line of sight shooting is always fun. There's nothing that's going to help that.
Yeah, there's nothing that fixes Desolation Marine spam.
That is unfortunate. It's especially unfortunate because Stu Black literally mentions Desolation Marines in the video itself, and these changes don't do anything.
What did he say?
Just that it's a problem.
Oh, not that big of a problem, clearly.
It's a problem. They were like, since the strike forces against this box came out, those Desolation Marines have been doing good things.
No, like, they've not been doing good things. They've been doing very bad things.
Very, very naughty things. So let's just go to the FAQs section, which I think there was a couple other things. So inflexible commands in each instance of from your army in the first 2 bullet points, they have to be from your army that's on the battlefield, which makes total sense. That's the guard secondary, right? The one where you have models in range of things.
Yeah.
Brood Swarm, they also changed it from within to wholly within, which is another relatively big change.
It's models wholly within, not units wholly within. That's just so a model can't straddle multiple.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which...
fair enough.
Fair enough. The Character Dreadnought in Iron Hands does take up an elite slot.
Which... Unfortunately, this adds some weird precedent to how armies are constructed, which I don't think they were intending. But it's just weird now that there's an order of operations implied
added
into
to the
how
roster, and then you can activate a stratagem on them.
Yeah, the way 40k has pretty much always been is that you write your list and then you check if it's legal at the end. You don't have to satisfy legality in steps, which... I don't know whether that's something they're implying here. I mean, it kind of is, that there is an order of operations, but every time it comes up, it's just, it's just annoying.
And then finally, for Astra Militarum, if you take 3 units of Astra Militarum in your Arcs of Omen detachment, or Militarum Tempestus, which is normally an elite slot, if you then take a patrol of Militarum Tempestus, you can fill out the patrol with even more of them.
Oh, that's dope. So that's a cool change.
They can uniquely avoid the rule of 3 because they switch battlefield roles in the different detachments. So that's totally fine. I think Tempestus got hurt by the Arcs of Omen detachment. Wish there was an update to Tau Commanders. I think the commander restriction should just be gone with the Arcs of Omen detachment. So I would like to see some other small changes like that. But overall, it's got more than I thought we would. There's a couple misses here. I don't think guard were hit hard enough, and indirect fire is still a problem. I think they should have added in the qualifier. Frankly, that indirect fire can't hit on better than a 4-up.
Or something.
Something like that.
Can't reroll the hit. Desolation Marines are gross.
There's too many abilities to, yes, you're -1 to hit, and your opponent gets +1 save, but there are just ways to ignore those hit penalties, which they're kind of counting on in the debuff. I think you shouldn't be able to ignore hit penalties and maybe even add in no rerolls to hit on indirect fire.
It's really just a problem with indirect fire.
Yep.
Like, indirect fire is just a very unfortunate mechanic that they keep wanting to add in.
It's because there's indirect fire, and then there's a lot of different buffs that you can stack onto these units.
Yeah. No, Desolation Marines are a big miss for this balanced data slate. Guard are a bit of a miss. Other than that, I think it's fine. Other than that, I think it does what it wanted to. I mean, it's a bit ham-handed on Dark Angels, but man, did it get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
It got that job done. You might not like how it got the job done, but boy howdy did it get it done.
And like I said, I think for some of those weaker factions down towards the bottom, I would have liked to see a couple more small buffs to their secondaries to just make their play a bit more enticing and easy to score. Because things like Chaos Space Marines, they could use a secondary buff. Like, come on.
Yeah, they really do.
Yep.
I don't think there's been enough focus on the fact that secondary balance is a fundamental part of what makes an army good or bad.
Yep.
And so you can have a fine army. I'm not saying CSM is fine, but like you can have a fine army with bad secondaries and it really struggles. Or you can have world eaters where literally they are an entire tier higher just because they have broken secondaries. Like,
Yep.
Sure.
So I still think there's a bit of a miss there, but overall, pretty happy with this, especially considering we have 10th edition coming out during the summer. So I'm glad that they still are actually analyzing the data and trying to figure things out.
Yep. We have a member. I can't see how many M's or N's that is from over here. Siegs, you're gonna have to
That's
read
11
out.
months.
No, in their name. Is that Pomo?
Oh, Pomno.
Pomo?
Pomo.
Member for 11 months, War Room Gold. Sorry, I'm a little far away from the screen. Is the Custodes Dread list still worthy? It definitely got better with this balanced data slate because Guard are rough for it. And the fact that you're limited to only 6 mortals means they kill 2 Dreads instead of 3 with Unit Casterkin. It's probably still too not great for you, but they definitely got better there into that matchup, specifically the Custodes Dread. Everything else got nerfed a little bit, and the Solar Watch build got nerfed quite a lot. If you have seen my masterclass, that's basically how it's going to be, is the Custodes Dread build goes up a little bit. Every other build goes down a little bit, except for the Fast Custodes build, it stays about the same. And then the Solar Watch build goes just... I mean, now on Shield Guard, instead of stacking no rerolls transhuman, you're going to stack -1 to hit, no rerolls. It's probably about good enough, honestly.
Yep.
Or -1 to hit transhuman, or something like that, because Shield Guard have that stratagem. So it's still something to work with.
Yep. Overall, your thoughts?
Overall, I feel like this changed the game in a better direction, for sure.
They were able to recognize the problems.
Yes.
I don't think they went far enough or nuanced enough in some of them, but they were able to recognize problems, which is good.
Yes. I'm sad that Guard getting changed only a little bit. Fine. Whatever. I'm a bit sad about Desolation Marines just staying the menace to the metagame that they are. Just desolationing everybody. Other than that, I think the Balanced Data Slate achieved what it set out to do, which is give little, tiny, here's a little buff for you. Oh, here you go. Here's a little buff to a bunch of different people. And then making sure Dark Angel's not a problem anymore. Just take him out behind the woodshed. It's fine. Largely achieved what it set out to do. Guard getting 2 minor of a nerf. It's not great, but it's fine. Desolation Marines, please something.
It's funny because they literally recognize it in the video that they're a problem. They just no solution to it.
No solution to it.
So thanks so much for joining, everybody. Let us know what you think of the different changes in the balanced data slate and the FAQ update in the comments below. We'll definitely be looking through those. Give us a like, tell your friends about the stream, and if you want more of the advanced level content, like the 3 stream games we put on every week, as well as masterclass series, advanced strategy sessions, go ahead and check out the Worm. It's in the link below, theworm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial. Check it out, and hopefully you'll enjoy a lot of the content in there. But once again, thanks so much for joining us, everybody. And I'm really eager to see what everybody says about their thoughts and whether they agree with us or whether they think there could have been other changes. So thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you all very soon. So long for now.